It's so wonderful to be able to talk to everybody here because of why we're coming together and meeting every week. Generally, I got to tell you, I don't like Zooms normally, but coming to these Zooms weekly has been really nice because it's casual. You can actually talk to people and it's fun. You know, you get to see Rich cooking his squid ink pasta over there or the cooking lessons or, you know, there's fun things going on all the time. So we're really happy to do it. We tailored some of what we're talking about more to Student Alliance people because from all the adults and all the ambassadors on here, we can learn from you guys. And so there might be some nuggets of what we talk about that'll be helpful, but we tailored a lot of the talk to the actual Alliance. But I hope you guys can take away some nuggets as well. And so the things that I hope you take away tonight would be one, what a vision board is and how to do it. Two, really simple lesson is be positive in the world and be positive to those you interact with. Third would be get involved. Make sure that you're getting involved and doing things, whether it's in your community, your family, your school, whatever it might be. And then the last thing is be active and don't be afraid to fail. That's really the last thing that we're gonna hit on that we want to touch upon. So I'm gonna let Chrissy go into a little bit of her background, but I just wanted to give you guys those takeaways again, which is going to be poster board or essentially vision board. Be positive, don't be afraid to fail, and then get involved in your community. So Chrissy, take it away.
Okay, so I grew up in Colts Neck. I attended Colts Neck High School. And when I was going to graduate Colts Neck High School, I was planning on going to Brookdale. But I just didn't feel like I was ready to go to college yet. I just didn't feel like it was the right path for me at that time. I felt like if I went to college right from high school, I wouldn't have done well. And I just didn't feel ready for it. And I always had a sense of adventure and I just wanted to have a very exciting life. So I decided to apply to be a flight attendant. And I got the job and I was so excited. I was 18 turning 19, very young. And I had so much fun. I was based in Newark and I traveled all the time and I really, really enjoyed it. And then I was 19, still a flight attendant, I met Bart. And Bart was living in Hawaii. And it's funny because I always felt like I was
flying.
Sorry?
I was living in Hawaii.
In Hawaii.
No. I know he was living in Hawaii, but did you meet him while you were working?
No. He was home from Hawaii, but we'll get into that. Yeah, he was home from Hawaii when we met. We met in Jersey, and we had mutual friends. But we met, and we just fell in love right away. And I decided to move to Hawaii to be together. And it's funny because I always felt like I'd live in Hawaii my whole life. It just everything kind of really fit perfectly for us. And then so I lived there, and when I was there, I waitressed, I bartended, I worked, and then I decided that it was time to go back to school, right? I felt like I really needed to go to college and it was the right timing. And I felt like I was ready to really work hard to succeed at it. And so I paid my way through Brookdale. I actually was able to do Brookdale online from Hawaii, which was great. And which was cool. I took some anthropology classes and I was able to apply Hawaii stuff to Brookdale. So it was really cool. And then, so I got straight A's and I applied to my dream school, which was Boston University. I wanted to do journalism. So I was so excited. I got accepted to Boston University, and on our way to Massachusetts, we lived in DC for the summer before we lived in Massachusetts. And Bart was interning for a senator of Hawaii, which he'll talk about. And while he was doing that, I worked for the Human Rights Campaign fundraising. That was my first experience fundraising, and I became really good at it. I raised over $26,000 for the Human Rights Campaign in a few weeks, and I became the top 5 fundraiser in the nation for them that summer.
Wait, you got to tell them, when she says she raised $26,000, what she was doing was standing in the street asking people who walk by for money. Like, talk about a tough job, tough fundraising. This isn't like us sending emails to our family and friends. I mean, she's standing in the street raising money. It was really cool.
Wow. That's impressive.
Thank you. it was in a hot, muggy summer of DC.
Yeah.
So, but it was a great experience. I met some awesome people, and I learned that I really like to give back and fundraise. And so then we went to Massachusetts, and I went to Boston University, and I was so excited. I was able to work for Boston Neighborhood Network. So I had on-air experience while I was attending BU. So I was a Jamaica Plain correspondent, so a correspondent for a local town. And I was able to build my on-air time, which is fantastic. So when I graduated BU, I got a job at NH1 News in New Hampshire. So I started commuting to New Hampshire from Massachusetts, which was fun, and working the night shifts and, making peanuts. But
keep in mind, it's like snowing in Massachusetts for like 7 months out of the year. So she was commuting, an hour each way with snow constantly. It was rough.
At night. Yeah. But no, it was worth it. It was fun. But when I was there, so I, for Boston University, I had taken out loans for BU. So I, was working just to pay back the student loan. So I would make barely enough to pay back each month the student loan because it was so expensive. So I was 25 at this point. So I felt like I was just really ready to just make more money. I was really hungry to be successful, and I wasn't willing to wait for it because in the news industry, you really make peanuts for a long time, right? So I felt like another calling. I felt like there was another path. So when we were in Massachusetts, and Bart had started printing t-shirts in our kitchen, which is something else that he'll talk about more. And he started Thrive Promos. And so I said to Bart, I said, I feel like I could go into this business, and I feel like I could be really good at it. And so I decided to do that. I left my job at NH1 News, and in my first year at Thrive Promos, I said, let's rebrand the company to Henderson Promos. Let's keep it in the family name. And in my first year, I tripled the business sales. So it just felt right. And I never thought that I'd be a businesswoman, but here I am. And we've just grown tremendously since then. And I'll get into more stuff of what I'm doing, but Bart's going to share his background now.
Cool. So I think that one thing that Kristina said a lot, which resonates, is kind of changing of paths, right? And that's a lot of what happened in my background. And so I think it's important, really important, to have goals and to have plans, but to be ready to change those plans at any time. And when I look back at my life, and I think that a lot of people probably have the same sentiment. When I look back at my life, the thing that has made anything successful is dexterity and the ability to change my plans. And so just looking at a sequence of Chrissy said, you got to put a background together and tell them a little bit about your life. I'm seeing constantly where I thought I was going to be and the change of where I actually ended up. And so just for some of the students who are on this call, I kind of start as when I was in high school. So I went to CBA, and while I was in high school, I was just utterly obsessed with basketball. I don't know what it was. I would play basketball for 8 hours a day. I mean, I would wake up 7 days a week in the summer, and I played basketball. So I was obsessed. And CBA, I was like, well, it's the best basketball team. That's where I want to be. I want to play at CBA. And so I went to CBA, and it was the last day of cuts for the tryouts. And I remember getting called into this random guy's office who I had no idea who he was. His name is Mr. Heath. He was a track coach. And I'm like, well, why am I getting called in here? He's like, you're going to be on the track team. I was like, no, I'm not going to be on the track team. I'm going to be on the basketball team. He's like, you're not going to make the team. You're 5'9", you're not going to make the team. You got to, come over to the track team over here. And so it's funny because at the time, you look at these things and in retrospect, it's small, but at the time it was huge in my life, right? I was in high school. I want to be on the basketball team. Essentially, I was going to get cut tomorrow. And I went over to the track team, and I had more success in track than I could have ever imagined in basketball, probably partly due to my height, 5'9", versus other things. But the point is, I ended up winning state championship every single year in track. I ended up graduating CBA, voted most athletic in my class. And it's just one of the small things in my past that I look back and I say, well, I had a goal and I had something I wanted to do, but it's slightly deviated. And you've got to be ready for those things in life, or at least I feel that that's what's helped me a lot. And so left CBA, went to college. After my first year at Montclair University, it was 2008. So it was essentially the economic meltdown, and many of you remember, and I couldn't afford to go to college anymore. So what happened was, like Chrissy, I went to Brookdale. I went there for one semester, and going to CBA, you go Brookdale, it has a very negative connotation for people that are in the area, you know? And when I look back, it was one of the most amazing stepping stones for me. We used it, like Chrissy, for instance, her loans would be double had she not gone to Brookdale for 2 years and then went to Boston University, which is a phenomenal school, right? So went to Brookdale for a semester and then found myself in Hawaii. So I got into this environmental program at University of Hawaii. And again, I'm thinking, this is just so crazy. I never thought I'd find myself in Hawaii in my whole life. It was like I just ended up applying to the program, got in, and went to Hawaii. And so it was one of those things, again, where I had this plan. I wanted to go to Montclair and run track, but this presented itself. You deal with it. And I went to Hawaii, and it was just the best thing for me in retrospect. I was able to pay for my own college through bartending, serving, all those kinds of things, rather than racking up a bunch of debt. So from there, I had what would be considered a horrible tragedy in my life. So one of the big reasons that I'm involved in Tigger House is my brother passed away from an opioid overdose. Now, one of the things we're constantly telling the Student Alliance members is about how just one time can be the time. And that was the instance for my brother. Now, my brother did have his whole life addiction problems. So I don't want to, kind of put that to the side. He did have addictions with pills and certain things, but he had never done heroin in needles before. And so the very first time it ever happened, he passed away. And so we're always talking about, to the Student Alliance, just one time is all it takes. And that's exactly what it is. One time is all it takes. So here I am in Hawaii. My brother passes away. I've come back to New Jersey. And when I'm, I've got, I think, a year left of college. And, it was a tragedy. It was a really hard, terrible time in my life. And the reason that this is important, and what still goes along with the same method, is even out of horrible things, amazing things can happen. So to give you a good example, I would have never met Chrissy if I didn't just come back for those 3 months. I mean, I wouldn't have met her, dated her, and we wouldn't be married today, right? So, I mean, it's a horrible thing. But the point is, you never know where life's going to take you. And for our student ambassadors, especially our Student Alliance, things always feel in the moment so terrible and so pressing, like the world's not going to go on. But I'm telling you, just like meeting Chrissy and marrying Chrissy came out of it, good things come out of horrible things too. And it's temporary. So when you're dealing with mental stress or depression or whatever it might be, because I've heard a lot of people talk about themes on these calls, feelings are temporary, and you need to realize that there can be positive outcomes from negative things. And that's why we're talking about, learning to fail. So anyway, I don't want to bewilder that too much, but that's a big part. So Alex Davola is one of my best friends in the world, and him and I have that commonality, and both of our brothers passed away from an overdose. And that's how I really find myself, so involved in Tigger House. That's really one of the things that makes me get up every morning and really want to contribute. So after Chrissy and we went back to Hawaii. So that happened. And then she moved to Hawaii with me, right? So she moved to Hawaii. We lived in Hawaii for a few years. It was a lot of fun. And then I got a job with the U.S. Senator, Senator Brian Schatz. We went to DC. Chrissy worked there. I worked there. And then I had another kind of pivoting point in life. I got into law school. Now, law school is very, very, very expensive. So for those of you, I think Mike, you had said you had a JD, right?
Yeah, very expensive is right.
That's right. And Kristina, I'm sure you and your mom are having fun with that. Yeah. So it's very expensive. And what we said, Christy and I were talking at the time. I was working in the senator's office, and the question was, go back to law school and just be saddled with debt, or is there a solution here? And so we said, well, I'm only going to go to law school if I can afford to pay for it, essentially. And so we started racking our brains. And the other thing was I didn't want a complete lost opportunity. And what I mean by that is so many students I find nowadays go into college or into law school or MBA, and they say, well, it's going to take 3 or 4 years and then I'll start my career after that. Or, I'm going to do this after. There's no reason it has to be after. Now, don't get me wrong. Law school is very difficult, but start your life today. Don't put it off just because of schooling or because of a program you're doing with work. You can do it simultaneously. And a real clear example of that is people say, well, there's not enough time. And my, thing that I would pose to people when they say that is, do you ever watch TV? Do you ever do what? There's always time if you want to make it, right? And so the point is, I don't want to be able to do this before we keep going. But we went to law school because we knew we could pay it for it. And so I started printing T-shirts in my kitchen, and that's when Thrive Promos, now Henderson Promos, was born. Really, from printing T-shirts in the kitchen. And so I'm gonna let Chrissy go.
There's a big screen printing machine.
Yeah, I mean, literally right at night. And Kristina, you're in the thick of it right now at law school, right? I was one of those law students. I mean, really, like in a movie, who I gave it my all. There's some who skate by and do whatever it is. I was waking up every morning at 4 a.m. and I was meeting my study group at 5 or 5:30 every single morning. And I was studying all day. I'd come home at 10 or 11, print T-shirts in the kitchen, and then go to bed and wake up at 4 again. So that law school is very difficult, but like everything, Kristina, you'll get through it, right? So I'm going to give it back to Chrissy to go into a little bit of what we mean when we talk about vision boards and how she sees vision and goals in life, I guess. And so I don't know if you guys even know what a vision board is, but I'll let Kristina talk to you a little bit about it, and I'll chime in too.
So when Bart and I were in Hawaii, we decided to make vision boards. So we got, cardboard poster boards, and we took magazines and we cut out pictures of things that we really wanted or words that meant something to us. So we put it all on, we glued, cut it out, glued it onto this vision board, this poster, and we hung it in our room in Hawaii, and we'd look at it every single day. And when we wanted something, we believed it would come true. We didn't just say like, we want this. Like, for example, when I would commute to BU, we lived in Southern Mass. We lived by Bart's law school, and I had to commute an hour and a half to BU each way. And I was driving this, this car that was falling apart.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, it's okay, because I'm going to be driving my dream.
It was so embarrassing. Like, you would turn the car on and you would hear this big screech and everything.
The paint was peeling off.
It was
yeah. Rough. And so the red, it was red.
It was embarrassing.
And so, but whatever, and so when I was driving it, I said, it's okay, because I'm going to be driving my dream car soon. I believed it. I felt it, and I knew it would come true. And, today I'm driving my dream car, but, the thing is that I believed it would come true. It wasn't like, I hope one day, I get a better car. Like, no, I believed it would happen. And I saw myself in it. I said, no, it's going to happen. I'm going to drive my dream car soon. So that's part of the whole vision board process, right? You see these things, but not only do you look at them every day, you believe they're going to come true. So, last year,
a lot of people might think that this is like so wishy-washy, right?
Well, it's the law of attraction.
That's it. And if you are a skeptic, right, then I would say, if you have a vision board, it's really just keeping your eye on a goal. So if you're a skeptic of the power of positive thinking and a vision board, well, if you wake up every day and you've got a board that has, a picture of a house you want, then you're going to work towards that goal, right? And so for the skeptics out there, if there are any, it's at least organizing your goals and keeping them in front of you in a really organized manner.
Yeah, the law of attraction, believing in yourself and believing that you can attain these things. And so the cool thing is when Bart and I went back to Hawaii, we go back every year, but last time we went, we found our vision boards, which we haven't looked at in years, because we made these probably 8 years ago.
Yeah.
8 years ago, maybe more. And because we're together almost 10 years now. And so I was blown away. On my vision board, like, everything came true that was on my vision board. To my engagement ring looked exactly the same as the picture.
The same engagement.
And I had forgotten what I'd put on there. and it was amazing. There was a dog on there. It was just like really.
And it's not just things, right? So a vision board's not just things, right? It's family, relationships, becoming more patient, more fit, whatever. So I don't want people to confuse and just think it's about cars and houses.
Yeah, it's not all about materialistic things. It's about both things: success, getting involved in the community, giving back, all sorts of stuff like that. I put a crown on there because I did want to be a title holder one day, and here I am. So it's just pretty amazing. Right now I'm working on my new vision board because, I have new goals now. So I'm really excited. So I think it's really important to, put your goals out there, look at them every day, believe they're going to happen, and they will. I mean, if you believe in yourself, that's it. That's all you need. And you have to stay focused, stay positive, and, take risks. When you believe in something, an opportunity will arise. It might not be exactly the path that you were that you planned on going on. When I was a flight attendant, I never thought that I'd be, living in Massachusetts, going to BU one day. Just all these things kind of, an opportunity presented itself, and I went with it. I took risks. I took a risk to move to Hawaii. I did these things, but I've always followed my heart. And all these new opportunities just were a great path for me to go on. And I'm the kind of person who does take risks. And I believe that that's the way to be successful. You have to put yourself out there.
So I would challenge you guys to, buy some magazines or save some images offline and just set aside 10 minutes, go buy a little poster board and make a vision board, right? And if you're not going to make one like that, just if you don't want to take all the time, go on Microsoft Word and put some images in there and print out a piece of paper.
And it could just be personal for you. You don't have to show everybody. It could just be in your room, something that you look at every day, or you can put it in your office and show the world, whatever you want to do. But it's just something nice for you to have, to focus on what you want, say in the next 5 years, and make those things attainable.
Right. So one thing that Chrissy and I were talking about when we said, well, what do we want to share, especially with the students? And it's the power of being a positive person. And it doesn't mean, forgetting all the bad things in the world, but it means when you're interacting with people, just giving everybody your time, attention, and really being positive. And so a really clear example of this is, I think, servers or bartenders, right? When you go to a restaurant and you're dealing with somebody who's positive and happy and nice, you're tipping them more, right? And when you're dealing with somebody who's kind of, mad or whatever, you're like, well, what the heck? Why am I even coming out to this restaurant if they're giving me attitude? And so, we were thinking for the Student Alliance, what a good piece of advice. When you're going out for jobs and when you're going for anything in life, really, people are always generally going to hire a more positive person or someone who's going to be a pleasure to be around. And it sounds so simple and so silly, but those are the kinds of people that we like to surround ourselves with. And those are the ones who stand out in any company we deal with, whether it's a supplier or one of our clients. We say, oh, I love calling this person because they're always so positive and so nice to deal with. And it's really easy. Anybody can do it. And I'll give you guys just—
It takes more energy to be negative.
Yeah, exactly. It does. So that's the one thing that really irks me. I remember, again, unfortunately, going back to my brother, whenever we get a really negative server, and I hope this gives you guys inspiration to be positive in certain times, Chrissy or my mom or somebody might say, well, give them a break. They're probably having a tough day. And I can remember 2 or 3 days after my brother passed away and we had buried him, I had said, sorry about my phone, I started serving, and I was going up to those tables saying, hey, how's your day? How are you doing? The point is, whatever you're doing in life, you can compartmentalize and leave it at home and be positive for the people you're around, either in your workspace or your organization or volunteering. I would just really urge you to always try to bring that, and people are going to want to be surrounded by that, I think. Yeah. So we talked about the vision board. We talked about being positive, and that brings us to a next point, which is get involved, right? And so, for the adults on this call, this is like so silly. They know this, they do this. They're all here right now doing it. But getting involved is so rewarding. So, you can talk about some of the what you do as Mrs. New Jersey and what you're involved in, and how it makes you happy.
Yeah. So a little bit about why I decided to be Mrs. New Jersey. So when I was 19, right before I moved to Hawaii, like a week before I moved to Hawaii, I decided to compete in the Miss New Jersey USA pageant. And I competed in that pageant. It was my first pageant. I just signed up, and I got the best interview award, but I hadn't trained at all. And I really enjoyed it because I met some awesome women. First off, I built my confidence because I was on stage, rocking a gown or swimsuit and then doing the interview and talking about myself. And it was just a great way to just build self-confidence. And then I met some amazing friends who are all out in the community making a difference, and just career-driven women. And I just fell in love with it. So then I decided to do it when we lived in Massachusetts, and I competed in the Miss Massachusetts USA pageant. And I was a finalist, and I got Miss Congeniality and most photogenic. I did really well. And then I thought that was it. I'm not gonna do any more pageants, but it was still on my vision board, so it had to come true, right? So then I found the Mrs. New Jersey pageant, and I decided to compete. And I'm so happy to have this title now that it allows me to have this platform for nonprofits that I'm passionate about, like the Tigger House Foundation. I also work with a few other nonprofits as well. And it allows me to be a bigger voice for them and to get their name out there even more in the community. And then allows me to also grow my business and, help be a support system for other women owners, and just continuing to grow my name in the community, and it's that next level for me. So,
which is building your brand, right?
Yeah, building my
that's
brand.
That's a good thing to touch on too, even though it's not on here, right? It is for the young people. You have to build yourself and build a brand. It's not just about going from job to job, but you're a prime example of building a brand.
Yeah, it's about building my brand, who I am, where I want to be, building my name in the community, helping nonprofits that I'm passionate about, and helping be a support system for women in business, helping them be WBE certified and what that entails as a woman business enterprise certified, and just being out there. And so it just allows me to give back on a greater level. And so that's why I'm so happy to be Mrs. New Jersey and have this platform this year, especially during 2020, which is, such a crazy year. And, it's really important that we raise awareness for, opioid addiction, of course, because overdoses have increased, so much in 2020. So it's so crucial. And I'm so happy that I can use this platform to raise awareness during this time. And, Bart will tell you that we're involved in so many community groups, which has really helped our business grow.
That's been, in the last 2 or 3 years, we have completely immersed ourselves in the community in a way that we never even imagined before. And I can't tell you how happy it makes us to contribute to different nonprofits, to go and meet all the different businesses. As some of the student alliance members here, the more that you get involved, and getting involved doesn't have to be tough. I'll tell you, we have friends. So I'm 30, she's 29. We have friends who literally ask us like, oh, what's this whole thing? Like, why you help nonprofits? Like, what is that? And
why are you doing a pageant?
Like, what are you talking about? Like, why do we help nonprofits? Like, and I know it sounds ridiculous to many of you on here, but a lot of people aren't involved. And so get your friends involved.
That's a sad truth.
Get people involved. Tell them about why you help nonprofits. And getting involved can be really simple. It can be reposting, like our Tigger House 5 for 5 thing that we're doing. It could also be coming to a place and volunteering for like an hour once a month. I mean, it can really be small, but I'd urge you to get involved because it gives me, I'll tell you, it gives me so much happiness, and you feel accomplished at the end of the day when you've actually helped out other people. So that, getting involved is our third tip. And I'll end on that unless you have anything else on getting involved.
Yeah, and just being involved in community groups is the biggest way to build your brand.
Right.
It starts word of mouth is building your brand, building your business, and getting out there in the community. So joining a lot of community groups is really crucial as you build your business and build your presence. So that's been very beneficial for us.
Right. So the thing that I think about most on a daily basis, and that I'd love to impart to any of the students here, and really anybody who would want this type of advice, is don't be afraid to fail. And it's so tough on a daily basis to think about what society is going to think of you if you fail, right? I've had failed businesses before, and they got me to all of my successful businesses, right? And so, people think, oh, what are they going to think of me if I do this and I fail? Or what are they going to think of me if I do that and I fail? You should fail hard, fail fast, and fail as much as you can, because it doesn't really matter the outside noise, right? People will always talk. People will have negative things to talk about. People will have positive things to talk about. And what I say to those people whenever you have to engage in that kind of thing is, at least I tried. At least I did it. I got up off the couch. I didn't sit and watch Netflix and eat chips at night like you did. You're critiquing me and you're sitting watching, Netflix. I got up and I tried, and I would love to try. I'd rather be the one who tried and failed every day of the week than the one who sat down and did nothing. And so
Bart works nonstop, I must say.
But the point is, I think that's the approach we take. And no matter what you want to, people can be positive and people can be negative. But as some of the young people here, it's not a big deal. You should not be afraid to fail, because the more you fail, the more you are going to push yourself forward in life. The more you're going to push out of your comfort zone. The more you're going to surround yourself with amazing people. The way Chrissy and I push each other is just something.
Bart, was one of the reasons, like, he really pushed me outside of my comfort zone. And I'm so thankful for that. Because of him, I've taken risks in my life and I've gotten to where I am. So he really pushes me. It's really good to have a support system. If Bart's really my biggest supporter, and if you have that in your life, it really helps.
Right.
But some of them, I don't have a lot.
But talk about not having a support system too, because that's important too.
Yeah,
right? You don't need a support system.
I don't have a big support system.
Right?
Sometimes my family's not the biggest pusher in that, but but I have Bart, and he really pushes me. And you know what? At the end of the day, you have to believe in yourself. It's not about everybody else pushing you and supporting you. That's great. Love it. But it's about you believing in yourself and you supporting. There's a lot of families that have a big support system and they don't, work hard and gain that success. It's really important that you believe in yourself. At the end of the day, you're your biggest fan. And that's the most important thing.
Right. So I think, unless you have anything else to say, I'll just kind of end it with, don't be afraid to fail. I'd love to take questions if anybody has any, but don't be afraid to fail, and make sure that you are envisioning the future you want. Because if you're not envisioning the future you want and seeing yourself in it, and to give a good example of what Chrissy was talking about earlier, it's not enough to say, and again, I'm just using a material object because that's easier to articulate to you than, becoming less thin or better at something. But if you're saying that you want that nice Ferrari, let's say, it's not enough to say, I want a Ferrari. That's not going to do anything for you. You have to close your eyes and you have to envision, what does the leather look like? What does it feel like to have your hands around the steering wheel? What is it going to feel like the day you buy it and you put the money down? You have to visualize yourself doing things. All right, I don't mean you have to. This is what I do. I visualize myself seeing things and doing things. And that's how we've been able to tackle so many successes, I feel.
Yeah. And I just want to say that my mother-in-law on this call, Tam, is one of my other biggest supporters. And, if Tam also, pushes me to do things outside of my comfort zone and is someone who's there for me when I need business advice and things like that. So I'm very appreciative to her as well. And my niece who's on this call too, who I go to for advice. I go to her for advice sometimes when I do speeches. She's very talented in that. So, so I do have, supporters too, but you have to believe in yourself, take risks, and, life is short. That's what I say. So why not? If you don't, sign up to do it, or you don't, if you just sit on your couch and don't take the risk, it's not going to happen. It would have been easier if I didn't, do this pageant, right? It's a lot of work that goes into it, and, but it wouldn't have happened if I didn't do it. If I didn't just take that risk, and with everything else I've done in my life, I just said, hey, it's not going to happen if I don't do it. Let me try it, see what happens, as being a flight attendant, all that stuff. So, what's the worst that can happen? So go for it, believe in yourself, and make your dreams come true.
That's what we got.
That's it. Does anyone have any questions?
Awesome.
Chrissy and Bart, I just want to say thank you so much for all of that. You know, definitely hits home for me, especially with that vision board and the power of attraction. My father sat me down at 17 and gave me a book and made me watch a movie called The Secret. Highly recommend it.
Love it. Love it.
Saw it before I went and was like, and that's how I've lived my life, you know. And I highly recommend getting the book, watching the movie for anybody that's never seen it, and give it a shot, like they said. But I will say thank you again. And Chrissy, that ending was so perfectly in tune to Disney, which I know you love as well as I do. So follow your dreams. Walt Disney did say it best. So thank you.
All come true.
Thank you for that. That was awesome. Thanks, guys.
Wow. I really loved everything you guys said. I love that it was very positive. I agree with a lot of the things that you stated. I do have one question though. You know, a lot of what you're talking about is envisioning things, believing in yourself, being positive. But what happens when you wake up and you're just not feeling it and you are in a negative space, you don't believe in yourself, you might feel that you're just not smart enough, or you're just not good enough. Do you have certain tips that you do, or things you do, or things you tell yourself that kind of get you through that?
I had one of those weeks this week.
You did.
We all do.
It was like, literally we had from small things, like our roof started leaking and our heater went out, like on top of everything else. Like I could not make this up. And that was like the small nothing things compared to like what I was dealing with work. Right. And so it was one of those weeks. And it's funny because I always see myself as saying this to people, be positive, even in those hardest of times. And I actually was retrospective in this. I said, how do I get myself out of this, this funk and what I'm doing? And I think that the thing that I do best in that regard is really try to compartmentalize. And I have some different tactics that I personally use. I actually don't use them so much per se as I used to, right? But they're deep in there. And so I like to put it into perspective. And by perspective, a really simple way that I look at stress and depression and is physically why we feel those feelings, right? And so I'll give you an example of what people deal with most, which is usually stress, right? And so it sounds silly. Again, a lot of these things might sound silly on their face, but I actually use it, and I would, maybe it'll work for you. Stress comes from kind of fight or flight, right? That's really what stress comes from. So all of us as adults nowadays, we're feeling things that we've manifested inside of ourselves that people only felt back in the day when they were in a life or death situation. And so stress is to get you fight or flight out of a really hard situation. And the classic example is you turn around, there's a lion right behind you and it's chasing you, and you got to run or you're going to die. And so to break it down on those levels, I say to myself, I actually do. You remember I used to say this all the time. Chris, you would come home with something really stressed. Is there a lion chasing you? Like, is there something that you're going to die if it doesn't happen?
I'm like, I got to figure this out.
And then you use the five, you guys, a lot of you will know the 5 rule, right? Like, how is this going to affect me 5 minutes, 5 days, and 5 years from now, right? And so if you look at my roof leaking as an example, how's this going to affect me in 5 years, 5 days, or 5 minutes, 5 days, and 5 years from now? Well, I paid to have it fixed 3 weeks ago. It hasn't been done yet, but I assume in 5 weeks that it'll be done.
Let's hope.
Right?
Let's hope.
So that's
the law of attraction.
It's to take a minute of just really take a minute whenever you're feeling that, oh my God, I owe this huge bill for work, or I've got this deadline. That's usually what it is for most people. I've got a deadline where I've got to hit this and I got to get it done. Take a minute and say, how am I going to think about this in 5 minutes, in 5 days, 5 months, and 5 years? And when you look back, one thing that I like to do is I look at things that were such a big deal. Like you would say, maybe something you said or did in an interview. It's like, oh my God, why did I say that? Why did I do that? and you look back and you go, I don't even remember that anymore. So using that tactic of the 5-5-5 is useful, or the I really do the lion chasing me. You always think in perspective. Is there a lion chasing me? Should I be feeling this level of stress? Why is my heart,
And he really helps me because I get stressed out with the little things a lot, and he'll, tell me that. I'm like, all right,
Bart,
that's great
so
tip.
funny. And I love the lion because the way that I deal with stress, and I don't know, I'm an extremely positive person. Like you talked about, I can find positive in any situation. But really what I say to myself is I'm alive, and I really take it to that level. And, there's a lot of stressful things going on in everyone's lives right now. But I really take it to that level, and I just think I'm alive. No one's dying. This is fine. Like we're really going to make it through this. And
what Carly's saying right now is practicing gratefulness, which is like, we didn't talk about it all, but please, this is such a key factor.
I actually have a gratitude journal that helps with that, but sorry.
Yeah, no. And I break that down, and I think, what do I need to do to help myself get out of this stress? And I turn that into something positive. And you're right, Bart, because I am extremely grateful. I'm extremely grateful for the life that I have. I deal with a lot of individuals struggling with addiction. I talk to families. I had a mom just call me 20 minutes ago, and she said, I don't even know why I'm calling you and telling you this. It's because we created a relationship. And that's what's so important. But yeah, I just really love everything that you shared. And, you said this was more geared to the students, but it's for life. Like what you guys talked about was just, for life at any age, at any stage in the game. But I did want to ask you, like, what's like your morning routine? Because you both are still glowing. I know you're a little younger.
Yeah.
Well, I want to say real quick, I want to just mention something that helps me when I'm having a really bad day is putting on really positive, upbeat music. Sometimes a lot of people listen to negative music, and that can really have an effect on you. So, hype songs really help me get in this good headspace. So I listen to all different genres, like Rich had mentioned, I think last time, that he listens to all different, but I listen to all different genres too, and it really helps. Like sometimes I'll listen to some movie song that's really positive and upbeat.
A lot of Disney going on with her music.
And so what? No, there's no shame in my game. That's it, baby. Disney is very positive and upbeat. And so yes, I'll listen to maybe a little Disney remix. We can get some techno in the Disney. But no, I listen to all sorts of stuff, and positive music is really helpful. So if there's a positive song that you like, even Work Bitch by Britney Spears, that one is a really big hype song for when we get in the zone for working
Monday mornings.
Mornings. So there's songs that get you in that that mind space. So that it could be something as small as listening to a positive song, so that helps. But our mornings,
you do your morning.
Bart's mornings are early. So I wake up, I have my coffee. I'm trying to do a glass of water before I have my coffee because I'm so bad at drinking water, which was a Tigger House wellness tip in my tag 5 goal today. But I'm trying to get better at drinking water. So when I wake up, I try and drink a glass of water before I hit the coffee. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I go straight for the coffee. And then I get ready and I head to the office. Nowadays, sometimes I have Mrs. New Jersey. My schedule fills up with that stuff. So either Mrs. New Jersey Zooms, I talk to students sometimes at universities. I go to events. I've been visiting the 21 counties in New Jersey. I've been visiting women-owned businesses in the 21 counties in New Jersey.
You're organizing this time.
County by county. So either I'm going to, a woman-owned business. I have events every day is a different day kind of for me. If I'm not in an event or I'm not on a Zoom, I'm working Henderson Promos. I'm at our office in Red Bank and I work all day. Sometimes I'm so stressed out and so busy working, I forget to eat. So I got to eat and then I'm starving, a lot of that going on. So busy days, I'm super busy with work and Mrs. New Jersey stuff. So, And then I get home.
What about coffee? I mean, you're not giving them the
I don't know. No one ever asked me this question. I don't know. Coffee all day long. I literally drink coffee all day long. And I come home and we order to go takeout almost every day because we're both working and starving, and who's got time to cook? Rich, come on over and cook us a meal.
Yeah. So mornings for me are a little different. I find a supreme peace in the time before people wake up and productivity. I think that from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock is the most magical work time of the day because you're not getting bombarded by everything else. Granted, right now, because I'm traveling back and forth to California, I'm kind of off on my schedule, so I'm staying up later rather than waking up earlier. But it you know, in a regular morning, I like to be up super early before everybody else because you don't get all of that noise. Everybody who works here knows that when you go to work, after that first half hour, you're just getting bombarded. So you might have task A, B, and C that you want to do, but now you've got 5 phone calls you got to put out this fire, you've got to do whatever it is. So my biggest morning, well, coffee is like critical for I really enjoy it. And I've given up coffee. Sometimes I drink tea instead, whatever it is, but have something that gets you calm and that you enjoy.
But we both enjoy watching the news in the morning and having that first cup of coffee. That's kind of essential for us. When we wake up and then together we'll have a cup of coffee.
For at least 10 minutes, we'll chill together.
10 to 20 minutes, and then we'll chill, and then we'll get moving.
And then the thing that's most helpful to me is I do a list. I used to do a list, like this big list of 10 things or something. Now I do 3 or 4 things that have to get done today. And that is my best morning routine piece, which is I do 3 or 4 things that if I don't do it today, I'm staying up later. It's that simple. And so that's the best part of my morning routine for productivity is I make a list of 3 or 4 things that this has to get done today, whether I have 100 people calling me and tearing me left or right or whatever. I don't go to sleep without these 3 or 4 things getting done. And so that's probably my best morning routine tip.
Awesome. I definitely think there's some good tips in there. So I just want to open it up quickly to see if anyone has anything they want to say or any questions they have for Kristina and Bart.
Yeah, could I ask a question?
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay. So because of the adversity that both of you have faced in your journeys, my question is, what was the most valuable lesson that you learned and also the greatest challenge that you faced growing into your roles respectively as CEOs?
God, wow. What a question.
A great question, Danielle.
That's awesome.
Wow. You go
first.
Okay. So one thing that I've learned is people love convention. And this is getting kind of deep. So you may or may not want me to go this deep. But people are attracted to and like comfort. And to give you an example, after I got out of law school, I got my JD MBA. So people were saying to me, oh my God, you're a lawyer, you got your MBA, you go work for the best law firm in the world and you'll make big money. And I said, no, I don't want to. And I had people, maybe you can or maybe you can't imagine. I had people, really coming at me saying, you're making the biggest mistake of your life. You need to be a lawyer and you need to follow the track that every lawyer follows. And that's what you need to do. Or you need to go into a hedge fund. And you need to do what other people do. And so I'd say the biggest thing that I face in a daily challenge, and not so much anymore, but is most people are groomed to follow the sheep in society. And they think one way, and they're always going to give you advice based on that comfort, based on what's coming.
Yeah.
And work my life away reading papers, or I can choose to follow my own path, start my own businesses, and make better money and make a better life for myself. And so that's just a tangible example, but people will always like convention. People will always want to tell you what they think you should be doing. And don't get me wrong, you need to have goals, and you need to, you can't just say, I'm going to do this without a plan and without goals, but you can't listen to other people all the time. You need to know that sometimes convention's not right. the greater population doesn't know the right answer. And I'd say finally realizing that in my life was the biggest eye opener that I ever kind of received.
Nice. I think I would say that stepping into my role as a business owner, I'm, like I said throughout this talk, is that I like to be very positive and very upbeat. So my biggest challenge is being a business owner is because I have to deal with all different kinds of people. I have to deal with, my manufacturers, my clients, and there are some very negative situations that sometimes I have to deal with, or negative people that I have to deal with. And that is definitely the hardest thing for me sometimes, is remaining positive while dealing with certain personalities, or having to manage different personalities in the most effective way. And so, and sometimes having to do those uncomfortable confrontation, conversations with people, and doing it in a way that's going to be productive, right? So learning to navigate that was definitely my biggest struggle, or my biggest challenge. And now I feel like, I've gotten much, much better at that. And, I've found a way that is great to handle those kind of difficult situations as an owner, as I'm in my role. And as I gain more confidence in who I am as I grow, talking to people for advice, sometimes talking to other successful owners who have dealt with similar situations has always been very helpful for me. Having mentors, and having someone like Tam, who's on the call, if I have a struggle with someone, she's been very helpful for me, and someone I could lean on for certain business advice as a business owner. So that would be something that.
And one thing you said that's really important for your generation, Danielle, is knowing to tackle things head on. And because you just said this, and I'm just re-articulating it. It's especially with your generation, with texting and emailing and not communicating via phone or in person. A lot of times people send emails or text messages or something that are either completely taken out of context, or they're saying and doing things that they would never, ever say or do in real life. And so I learned that not early on. I only learned this in the last, call it 3 to 5 years. You have to tackle problems, and that's what you were talking about, with people head on. And so if you get an email from somebody that sounds a little off, you don't want some awkwardness between you, and you don't want bad feelings. You don't want anything like that. The approach I take, which really I think floors people all the time, is I pick up the phone and I call someone immediately. I mean, if I get an email that someone is giving me, whether it's sass or attitude, I pick it up right away, immediately. Boop, dial them up. Don't even think about it. Don't feel awkward about it. I call them, and you would not believe the way that it diffuses situations. I have had the most nastiest emails written to me. And then I call the person up. Oh yeah. Well, I didn't really mean anything. Or
just miscommunication. A lot of the times it's just miscommunication.
Right.
And so it's so easy to call someone and be like, oh, I didn't know you meant that. Or let me explain it to you. It's just, a miscommunication there.
So that's a big learning thing. I think that your generation will face, Danielle, especially as more and more communication is like that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I feel like that's super productive advice for not only younger people like myself, but also people who are older in this call. So yeah, thank you so much again.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
It was great stuff.
I noticed that Sal likes to mute his video when I'm talking, but when Chrissy's talking, he likes to.
You caught me red-handed.
Yeah. So when I'm talking, he's like, "I'm out of here. Let me just go do whatever I'm doing."
Thanks for listening to me, Sal.
No, I want to say that was awesome, guys. It really was. You guys are very inspirational. For myself, hopefully everyone else on the call, and I'm very grateful that you're here and you're sharing your story. And I think, I definitely can draw some positives from this, and I hope other people can too. So hopefully we keep this moving, and I'm excited for the future.
Thank you.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. Awesome.
So I guess we'll stay behind for anybody who does want to talk after. I don't want to take up time for people. So anybody who does want to talk, feel free to stay behind. Otherwise, thank you so much for talking to us, guys, and giving us perspective and things to think about.
That was a lot of fun. Thanks, guys.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Thank
awesome.
you, everyone,
Thank you,
for
everyone.
joining.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bart and
Awesome.
Kristina.
Great.
All
Thanks,
right,
guys.
see you again soon, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. So nice meeting everyone.
So
Great
nice
Pleasure
meeting
meeting you.
Well,
Thank you.
You too, Michaela. Have a good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
So nice to
Bye,
meet
guys.
you.
bye.
You guys for everything. The law school advice was definitely super helpful. I'm sitting here with my civil procedure notes right under me, and it's kind of
Nice. If you're not studying, somebody else is, right?
Exactly.
I didn't realize competition until I got to law school. So
Okay, now are you in your first or second semester at this point?
first.
Okay, biggest piece of advice, as I said earlier, start studying now because it's before finals. Yeah, start studying right now.
I'm in the thick of finals. I took torts on Monday. I have a civil procedure Saturday and then contracts right after that.
You'll do great.
Good luck.
You'll
You
do
got
good.
this.
No, but this was extremely helpful. I think for me, I needed law school to kind of shift my life a little, and it helped me refocus on the things that were important. And I was able to really push some things to the side and center in on really what mattered to me, and the relationships that mattered. And being a morning person was so important. Like you said, I feel like the times when I'm most focused is when no one else is there and no one else is awake and no one else is blowing up my phone. But everything, I think, taking on something challenging really forces you to refocus and figure out what you need to do. You learn a lot about yourself. And I mean, it's a very lonely life studying all the time. So it kind of makes you learn about yourself too. So it's just everything you said it's so beyond helpful.
Oh, that's awesome. I think one thing that I've always carried with me in regards to law school is if I'm ever tackling a task, and again, I never imagined at all that law school would be as hard as it was. Like I really didn't know or realize that. But whenever I'm doing something, I always look back and I'm like, well, I did that. Like, so I can kind of do anything. And that is like one of the biggest lessons I have from law school is, oh my God, I got through. Like, I don't think that I could study for like 12 hours a day anymore. Like I've gotten that. And I don't think I could even do that again, but the point is you look back and you go, I did that, so I can do anything,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially during the pandemic. I'm like, if I can do this during a pandemic, I can do anything.
Awesome.
Oh my God.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going to get going, but thank you again.
Bye. So good to
Good luck
see
on the
you.
finals.
Kristina.
Bye.
Bye.
Bart and Kristina, have you heard of Brookdale being called UCLA?
Yeah. University. What is it? University.
Closest to Lincroft, Acme.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I grew up in Lincroft, so yeah, of course, that would,
Yeah, we're pretty much neighbors, Rich. We're like 2 blocks away from each other.
Yes, we are. That is
Yeah.
right. I know it's a shame I don't live there anymore. I miss Lincroft.
I mean, yeah, I don't live there either, but
So
Lincroft's awesome.
I look to move back. Actually, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
A couple years. I wanna get a couple more investment properties under my belt. This is one, actually, the one that I bought, and then I got one coming up. It's actually in my quote unquote virtual vision board, right? I keep all my goals down in an Excel spreadsheet, of course, and I'm sure Michael can attest to that, right? Being a financial type of advisor, right? Everything you can break things down into numbers, but as well as, I break things down, I have my Pinterest stuff, I have my Instagram, and I go through that and I clean it up and I can, make sure it's coded, and it's fun to do that, But I actually have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
What's your favorite type of coffee? I mean, obviously, coffee is running your life. I can't imagine it being Dunkin', right?
Oh, no.
No. I mean, are you guys like whole bean ground?
So we're getting another machine because I do the espresso. We have espresso machine, and then we have the Keurig. But so I know.
Is your espresso machine like a Nespresso, or is it like an actual pressurized?
It's the Delagna or whatever.
We steam them out.
Yeah. And you're packing down the coffee beans to go inside?
Yeah, you can. We have these little packets instead, but
like these little pouches.
So one thing that we always do, and this is like one of our mantras for business, is as far as favorite coffee, you said like Dunkin' versus Starbucks. And don't get me wrong, we go to Dunkin', we go to Starbucks, but we always try to go to local. Like that's a big big kind of, it's important to us, you know. We always go local whenever possible. So like C'est La Vie, their espressos and their cappuccinos are phenomenal. That's actually C'est La Vie cappuccino is one of my favorite coffees.
I love that place.
I agree.
I gotta say, my favorite coffee though is Kona coffee in Hawaii.
Kona.
It's good.
I was gonna say we went to Kauai for our honeymoon. So once I went to the Kauai coffee plantation, it was like
we went there. Oh no, we didn't. We went to the one on the Big Island. Sorry.
It's like 100 degrees out, 100% humidity, and I'm sampling hot coffee, and it was awful, and it was black. They didn't give you any milk with it, but I haven't stopped drinking it since we got back, and that was 5 years ago. Yeah. And
which coffee is it?
Kauai.
Yeah. Is it, I know the kind you're talking about. Is it like blue, yellow, and red or something?
Yeah.
Or?
It has the Nepali coast on the box.
Yes.
They have it at ShopRite, but I have it on auto order from Amazon. It was actually cheaper.
We do Kona Joe's.
Yeah.
But
and they're Keurigs too, so yeah.
So wait, do you guys drink cold brew at all? Because I'm a cold brew fan.
Sometimes that's too strong for me.
Really?
I'm not into like the super strong coffee.
Okay.
I like strong.
Like a medium. Nice.
Got it.
You know.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, what do you got?
Oh, not about coffee, but you guys were awesome, by the way. And just so much in there for the younger people too. Like don't get caught up in that moment when something fails or doesn't go your way, and you literally, it's part of being young too. You think it's the biggest thing in the entire world that this didn't go the right way or this engagement didn't work out, and your whole life's going to be over. And really, like, in retrospect, when you look back, it leads to so many things, and it's like not the biggest deal in the world, you know? And like, that was so huge. And I would tell like every young person that my number one thing, like, this too shall pass, something else will come up. Yeah. You have no idea what's around the corner. But it's so hard when you're young because you have these plans and you're like, I'm going to do this. And being a perfectionist, I never wanted to like try anything and fail. So I only did like what I was good at. Uh-huh. And I was good at some things, you know, but if I wanted to try something new, it was like, well, they're going to see that I'm not like perfect at that. So I'm not going to try it at all. And I just love that you guys said, because the more I hear it with entrepreneurs is like, you just have to keep trying and you can, and fail. Like, right. It's okay to fail, you know? And I just absolutely love that. So I do have a question about, have you guys always been confident, like public speakers? Because
oh my God, no.
I had
talking, but I don't like talking. Like even on a Zoom, if you meet me in person, like Carly knows me, I'll just be like, blah, 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 blah. But I don't like speaking like in this type of environment, which is, it's so weird that I'm not like comfortable doing it. But if, you know, have you always been? And are there tips you can give?
My first major speech was in front of like, I don't know what, like 300 people or something.
Oh, it was so cute.
It wasn't cute. It was so rough. Like I had papers, like I had actually like written it first off, which is like such a horrible mistake. And I dropped all the papers all out of order. And I was like,
they dropped on the floor and you just pick them up in the middle of the speech.
Oh no. Yeah.
It was so rough. And actually, so the congressman I worked for, I saw him, I don't know, 2 years ago or something like that. And he said, do you remember that speech you gave? I said, of course well, now I do. It's burned in my head now that you remember it. You know? Right. And he said, look how far, you know, you've come. And all that, I would say the number one thing with talking that I have ever held on to that worked is you've got to have some kind of outline in your head. And for me, it's always number 3 or 4 things. because you can always go back to them. Otherwise, no, we were not always like this at all.
I had a really big fear of public speaking.
Oh my gosh, she was.
Oh my God.
Really?
In high school, I had to present one of my presentations that we had for one of our classes. I told the teacher that I'll take the grade without the presentation. I don't even want to do the presentation. I was so nervous, because the kids are all judgmental and stuff. And I just didn't want to put myself through that. And that's how bad it was. And I'd get so nervous to even read out loud in class. Like, it was just, I'd panic. I'd get so nervous. My heart would be beating. I'd be like my face would be all red. It was really bad. And, it's so funny that I do it so much now. And the thing that really helped me get over it was practice. The more I did it, the more confident I felt, and knowing what I was going to say and knowing myself and knowing, just repetition. Oh, right. Oh, just repetition makes me feel, more confident doing it. And now doing it all the time, it just kind of comes, more natural. So, you just attack the fear head on. That's what I say, because I was so nervous to do it, and you just attack it. And then the more you do it, the better you'll get and the more comfortable you'll feel.
And memorizing them. I think one thing that was really helpful for you, it's not memorizing, but like internalizing topics, right? Because you can't imagine the questions they ask them.
Pageantry,
oh
really.
yeah.
I could never do what you do. And it's crazy because I was an actress growing up. So I was always on stage, but as another person. So not me. I didn't care if I was another person and I could play a character. It was like, sky's the limit. It's like off the charts. But if I had to be me and do what you do, I absolutely give you so much credit, because I could never do that. That is, that's an art form.
You could do it.
Yeah.
Like practicing my interview for the pageant was really helpful, because I had to go over like who I am and all these questions, and just really know myself, and just, some key points, like Bart said, when you talk, just having those key points and going back to them is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And not a question, just a comment. I just wanted to thank you guys for sharing your stories. As Sal had said earlier, you both are incredibly inspiring. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
So much. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you guys. And Bart, one thing you had said that resonated with me, having gone to law school and not taking a job at a law firm. I've heard from so many people about, like, what are you doing? Like, why'd you waste your time going to law school? All this stuff. And what you said actually just really hit home with me, that like everyone has a different path. Like, I hated my internships. I did not enjoy it. Everyone I did. So I don't know. Thank you for sharing that. I definitely resonated with me.
People said like mean things to me. Like,
yeah, it's crazy the things that people will say. Like, they'll laugh at me. I'm like, okay, like that's fine. Like, you can do your own thing, but you don't need to, like, I get you're trying to help, but everyone has a different path.
Close-minded. They're trying to keep you in a box.
Exactly.
But I think that's important, Michael, because right, even when I first met you, Michael, you always said you had a path. Like, you knew what you wanted to do. And I admire that. I think that you were like, I'm going to law school because this is what I want to do with it.
Yep.
And that's one thing. I know Kristina jumped off, but I even said to her when she was debating, do I go? I don't know if I want to be a lawyer. And my advice to her was, you don't have to know that you want to be a lawyer. Because once you do whatever it may be, any type of furthering your education or any work or experience, no one could take that stuff away from you. And I always, that's one thing I always say, right, to the kids, whether it be education or a job or experience or an internship, no one could take that away. That becomes part of you. So good point.
So good for the Student Alliance to know, as far as even, and I actually wanted to touch on this today, but for the Student Alliance, for majors, it's so funny how much people are like, well, what's your major? What are you going to do? It's like, it doesn't matter what your
major. I don't get why you need to know that now.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to thank you for sharing that story.
Awesome.
Thank you both.
Michael, thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thank you guys for welcoming me. I look forward to meeting you guys soon.
Awesome. It was nice to meet you, Michael.
Have a good
night.
Bye,
everybody.
I'm going to drop off too, guys.
Yeah, I got to eat dinner.
Oh, enjoy your dinner. Thank you, Bridget.
You were
awesome.
Thanks so much, Bridget. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody, you guys were awesome. Thank you again.
Thanks, guys.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.